Donald Trump got some devastating legal news this morning in the New York City criminal trial against him. So day 2 of this trial is well underway. They've been cross-examining a witness, introducing evidence. David Pecker was back on the witness stand today. He was the CEO of the parent company of the National Enquirer, which was the publication responsible for catching and killing stories for the Trump campaign in 2016. They published positive stories about him, negative stories about his opponents. We all know this now to be true, and that has gone very poorly for Trump and his team. But before trial even got underway today, the judge held a hearing on the gag order against Donald Trump. Now, we all know that Trump has been saying it's incredibly unfair that this gag order is in place against him, even though, as we all know, it's incredibly necessary. And that's exactly what the prosecution has been arguing, that it's important, it's in place, given that, Trump has a long history of attacking potential witnesses, jurors, court staff, their family, all of that stuff. And this hearing just went very badly for Trump and his lawyers. His lawyers even got called out by the judge for their bad arguments. So we're going to talk about this hearing and look at Donald Trump's response to it this morning, which will give you some indication about how he feels it went. So what we're talking about here is violations of the gag order, attacking potential witnesses, jurors, court staff's family, as we just discussed. And the prosecution is alleging around 10 different violations of the gag order. For example, like here, where Donald Trump attacked Michael Cohen yesterday for around 20 seconds.
Now, when are they going to look at Pomerantz and what Pomerantz did? Because that's bad stuff. And when are they going to look at all the lies that Cohen did in the last trial? He got caught lying in the last trial. So he got caught lying, pure lying. And when are they going to look at that?
Yeah, so stuff like that, you can't do that. You cannot attack potential witnesses like that when there's a gag order in place against you. Even if there's not, you cannot do that if you are a criminal defendant. But I have an article here from NBC News for you to show that covers this hearing this morning. And the headline is Judge Skewers Trump's defense credibility in gag order hearing ahead of key witness testimony. That kind of gives you an indication of how this went for Donald Trump and his lawyers. And in the article, they quote the different lawyers on the prosecution side arguing in favor of this gag order. They write, quote, "We are not yet seeking an incarceratory penalty. The defendant seems to be angling for that." Prosecutor Chris Conroy told Judge Merchan at a hearing over whether Trump should be held in contempt over a series of posts on Truth Social that prosecutors argue violated Merchan's gag order. The ruling prohibits Trump from publicly attacking witnesses and jurors, something prosecutors say he's done at least 10 times since the order went into effect. So as of now, they're not seeking to throw Donald Trump in jail, even though he probably deserves it. I mean, 10 violations of the gag order? Seriously? They're just seeking a $1,000 fine for each violation, which they allege has reached the number 10 for now. Donald Trump's a ticking time bomb. It can go up at any moment. And the judge kind of laid the foundation for this hearing early on, saying, quote, "The purpose of this hearing is to find out whether the defendant, Mr. Trump, should be held in contempt for all or one of these violations." And the prosecution made their argument saying his disobedience of the order is willful. It's intentional. He knows what he's not allowed to do, and he does it anyway, which are some very stern words from these lawyers, these prosecutors, but they're absolutely right. Like, Donald Trump knows that he is not meant to be attacking witnesses, the jury, which he has done on Truth Social in recent days, suggesting that they're 95% Democrats or whatever random statistic he came up with, but he does it anyway. His disobedience is willful. It's intentional, right? He knows he's doing it, and he's kind of testing to see if the law will actually hold him accountable or if it is all talk. And that is yet to be seen. And Trump's lawyers, Todd Blanche, along with his legal team, made the argument that, quote, "there was absolutely no willful violation." No willful violation, huh? Really? It's almost like somebody else wrote those Truth Social posts for him, or somebody else made him say outside of court that Michael Cohen is a liar. Interesting. And he said his client was merely responding to a barrage of political attacks. Now, calling Michael Cohen a liar and referencing his accountability that's been had in a trial before this one, I find that very hard to believe that that is just responding to a barrage of political attacks. That seems like Donald Trump is trying to intimidate a witness, intimidate the jury, influence them in how they're thinking about a potential witness in the form of Michael Cohen. And it seems like the judge felt the same way. Mershon then pressed Blanche on what specific attacks Trump was responding to when he made the posts, and the attorney struggled to answer, saying, and the judge actually said, "I keep asking you over and over to give me an example, and I'm not getting an answer," which is a good point. You can't just say, oh, he's responding to political attacks and then not have an answer as to what attacks he's responding to. But even if he was responding to Michael Cohen saying, hey, I don't like Donald Trump, doesn't give you an ability to then go say, well, Michael Cohen's a liar. You know, he just don't believe him. He's a liar. Please. It seems like this hearing didn't go so well for Blanche and Donald Trump's team. And eventually, the judge just straight up told Blanche to his face, saying, hey, bud, you're losing credibility. You're losing all credibility in this court with the arguments that you're making, because there is no real defense of Donald Trump's conduct here. You know, there's no defense of attacking the jury or attacking witnesses. I'm sorry. You know, it's a very tough task for Todd Blanche and Trump's legal team to do. But as I mentioned, the DA and his office is seeking the maximum $1,000 fine for each of the 10 posts it says violated the order, along with an order that Trump remove the posts from his social media platform. It also wants Mershon to warn Trump any future violations risk not just additional fines, but also potential jail time. And that actually has to be on the table. It absolutely has to be on the table with Donald Trump, because he just doesn't care about the law. So I imagine that there will be some repercussion for Donald Trump, because these orders are just, or these posts are just so blatant, but he's just going to keep doing it. He's just going to keep doing it. So there has to be a stop at some point. And, you know, curious to see if Mershon makes that stop. But aside from that, Mershon did reserve a decision on the issue until a later time, but made clear he was not impressed by the arguments from Trump's legal team. And of course, he told them, you're losing all credibility with the court as well in this hearing. So very, very bad news for Donald Trump. Doesn't seem like the judge is convinced by his side and the arguments he was making. But yeah, that's kind of the hearing. And as I mentioned, Donald Trump responded to everything that happened today with his own post on Truth Social, which is ironic. We're talking about him, you know, limiting his post on Truth Social to not attack people. And then he goes on to attack the judge literally after this hearing, saying, quote, on Truth Social, highly conflicted, to put it mildly, Judge Juan Mershon has taken away my constitutional right to free speech. Everybody is allowed to talk and lie about me, but I am not allowed to defend myself. This is a kangaroo court, and the judge should recuse himself. So, oh man, oh God, again, his constitutional right has not been violated. You do not have a constitutional right to interfere with a trial, to intimidate a witness, to influence a jury. You don't have the constitutional right to do that. And protecting these people from attacks from Donald Trump, whose followers, we know what they do. They target people. They go after people. They scare people, right? We know that. And protecting these folks, these jury members, the witnesses from that is absolutely in line with the law. And if you're running for president of the United States, people are allowed to go after you, but that doesn't mean that you're allowed to intimidate witnesses and a jury. Donald Trump is very welcome to go on the campaign trail and make political arguments saying, you know, I think taxes should be this, or I think we should do this about healthcare, and anybody else that says otherwise is wrong. That's perfectly fine. You just can't call witnesses a liar. You can't call a jury 95% Democrat. You cannot do that. You cannot reveal details about a juror on Truth Social. Not a constitutional right. He just keeps lying about all this stuff, which is, of course, typical for Donald Trump. But I do have a sneaking suspicion that this is not going to end up in the way that Donald Trump wants it to end up. But that's the hearing. Very bad news for Donald Trump, and we'll see what Judge Mershon eventually decides on the matter. Maybe later today, maybe later in the week. We shall see. But I'll leave the video there. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe down below. It goes such a long way. I greatly appreciate the support. Drop a like on the video, comment, let me know what you think about all of this. Of course, share it with anybody you think needs to see it. And as always, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I appreciate you.